We live in a culture that, honestly, just worships control. It shows up in the way we plan our days down to the minute, map out our futures with color-coded calendars, and chase goals with this rigid precision. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that if we just try and organize hard enough, life will behave. We will be spared heartbreak, discomfort, and unpredictability. We buy into the fantasy that control equals safety, that it keeps us from the mess. But, deep down, we know it's not true. Life cannot be tamed. Even the most perfectly curated plans fall apart. Even the most detailed vision boards cannot stop grief, loss, or change. The more we cling to control, the more fragile we become. Every detour feels like a threat. Every change feels like failure. Control turns us into people who manage life instead of living it. The truth is, chaos is part of the contract. Uncertainty is woven into the fabric of being alive. Control may feel comforting, but it is not peace. It is pressure. The real peace comes from learning to meet life as it is, not as we try to force it to be. That is where freedom begins. We grow up believing that if we plan well, work hard, and check all the boxes, life will reward us with stability. We try to write the perfect script. We map out the timelines, the milestones, the big moments. We believe that if we follow the formula, we can avoid the mess, dodge the pain, and keep everything on track. But life has its own rhythm. And most of the time, it does not care about the script you wrote. Things fall apart. People leave. Opportunities vanish. The unexpected shows up without warning, without apology. One moment you are confident and clear, and the next you are staring into the fog, unsure of what comes next. But that is not failure. That is life. The detours, the surprises, the sudden turns in the road, they are not signs that you did something wrong. They are reminders that you are human, and that this journey was never meant to be predictable. The script is not real. The plan was never a guarantee. The beauty is not in control, but in how you respond when control slips away. That is where your growth begins. That is where your real story lives. Control feels safe. It gives the illusion that if we just try hard enough, plan thoroughly enough, and anticipate every possible outcome, we can keep pain at bay. So we pour our energy into micromanaging everything. We obsess over details, second-guess every move, and try to shape the behavior of others to fit our expectations. We believe that if we just hold on a little tighter, nothing will go wrong. But the truth is, control doesn't bring peace. It brings pressure. The more we cling to it, the more exhausted we become. Our grip tightens, and with it comes tension, anxiety, and the ever-present fear that something might slip through the cracks. And eventually, it always does. People don't behave the way we hope. Plans fall apart. Life interrupts. And all that effort we invested in holding everything together begins to backfire. Control doesn't protect us. It traps us in a cycle of fear and resistance. It robs us of spontaneity, connection, and presence. The tighter we hold on, the more we miss what's actually happening. Letting go doesn't mean losing your way. Sometimes it is the only way to truly move forward with clarity and freedom. Planning is a powerful tool. It gives you direction, helps you stay focused, and allows you to move through life with intention. Setting goals and preparing for the future is smart, even necessary. But planning and controlling are not the same thing. Planning comes from a place of hope and strategy. Control comes from fear. And when fear takes the wheel, everything starts to feel like a threat. Control isn't about preparation anymore. It's about perfection. It's about needing everything to go exactly as expected. And when life inevitably veers off course, we panic. We scramble to get back to the plan instead of asking ourselves whether the plan still makes sense. We mistake rigidity for strength. But honestly, true strength lies in flexibility. There's nothing wrong with wanting a map. But don't forget that the road might change. Control suffocates creativity, spontaneity, and the ability to respond in the moment. Adaptability is the skill that will carry you through the storms. It's the muscle that allows you to shift, pivot, and keep going, even when everything you mapped out falls apart. So keep planning, yes, but release the need to control. That's where freedom begins. Control often wears a clever mask. It looks like discipline, preparation, and responsibility. But underneath it all, it is usually fear. We fear things falling apart. We fear making the wrong choice, losing what we love, or simply not knowing what's next. So we try to hold everything together with schedules, routines, rules, and backup plans. We convince ourselves that if we can just stay a few steps ahead, we will be safe. But fear is a shaky foundation. The tighter we grip, the more brittle everything becomes. We become more anxious, not less. More rigid, not more resilient. Life does not follow our carefully built rules. It will not rearrange itself to accommodate our fear. Things will still break. People will still leave. Circumstances will still change when we least expect them to. When we build our lives around fear, we are not creating security. We are building cages. We end up trapped in our own systems, exhausted from trying to keep it all together. Freedom begins when we acknowledge the fear, not when we let it drive. To truly live, we must loosen our grip. Let fear be a signal, not a guide. Trust the unknown enough to step into it anyway. The harsh truth is this: the world does not owe you a smooth ride. It does not owe you perfect timing, ideal outcomes, or a life free of discomfort. We are often raised to believe that if we play by the rules, work hard, and do everything right, things will fall into place. But life does not operate on fairness. It moves on its own timeline, with no regard for your carefully laid plans or bullet-pointed goals. You can map out every step, visualize your success, and follow the blueprint exactly. And still, life will throw you a curveball. Someone will say no. Something will fall apart. An opportunity will vanish. And when we've built our expectations around the idea that the world owes us consistency or cooperation, that disruption feels like betrayal. But it's not betrayal. It's life. The world owes you nothing. And that is not a punishment. It is an invitation. An invitation to let go of entitlement. To release the illusion that if you just try hard enough, things will stay in your control. The truth is, freedom comes when you stop expecting life to follow your script, and instead learn how to dance when the music changes. Letting go of control often feels like a loss. It feels like stepping into the unknown without a map or a safety net. At first it is terrifying. You've been taught to grip tightly, to manage everything, to hold your life together with structure and precision. Surrender can feel like failure, like weakness, like giving up. But that's only the surface. In reality, letting go is one of the most liberating choices you can make. It's not about giving up your vision or your effort. It's really about loosening your grip on the outcome. You start to trade rigidity for resilience. And honestly, you create space to breathe. You begin to trust yourself more, knowing you can adapt, respond, and evolve when life changes course. Control keeps you locked in fear, always preparing for what might go wrong. Letting go lets you focus on what is actually happening. You become more present, more available, and more open to unexpected beauty. You stop bracing for impact and start dancing with possibility. Life flows better when you stop fighting the current and start moving with it. Letting go is not the end of strength. It's where real strength begins. The people who thrive in this world are not the ones who cling to control. They're the ones who bend without breaking. They're the ones who pivot when plans fall apart. Adaptability is not just a skill. It's a form of intelligence. It's the quiet strength of adjusting to what is, instead of staying attached to what was supposed to be. Life does not reward the person who has the tightest grip. It rewards the one who can release expectations and move with the current. Adaptability is not about lowering your standards or losing direction. It's about understanding that the path forward will not always look how you imagined. Conditions will change. People will change. You will change. And honestly, the more willing you are to evolve, the more powerful you become. Resilience lives in your ability to say, "This wasn't the plan, but I'm still moving." It lives in your decision to show up differently when circumstances demand it. Adaptable people do not wait for everything to make sense. They take the next step anyway. In a world that is constantly shifting, adaptability is not a backup plan. It is honestly the power that keeps you in the game. Take a moment to look at your life honestly. How much of your energy is spent trying to manage things that are far beyond your control? How many hours have you lost obsessing over outcomes you cannot predict or influence? How many sleepless nights have you endured, gripped by anxiety, about the future or regret about the past. The truth is, the more tightly we cling, the more we suffer. Control gives the illusion of safety, but in reality it costs us our peace. Every time we try to hold everything together, we tighten ourselves into knots. Our minds race. Our bodies tense. We miss the moment unfolding in front of us because we are just too distracted by the need to control the next one. Clinging does not create security. It only breeds more fear. It blocks joy. It dulls presence. It keeps us stuck in the exhausting loop of overthinking and overplanning. Letting go is not about giving up. It is about giving yourself the freedom to breathe again. When you stop clinging to how things should be, you finally allow space for life to surprise you. That is where presence lives. That is where peace begins. Control feels like power, but it often serves as a distraction. We pour our attention into micromanaging situations, obsessing over outcomes, and trying to force life to obey our plans. But in doing so, we miss where real power actually lives. Real power is not found in perfect plans or predictable outcomes. It is found in how we respond when things fall apart. The truth is, we do not have control over the world around us. We cannot stop the unexpected from arriving. We cannot prevent change, chaos, or loss. But we always have control over our mindset. We choose how we respond. We choose what meaning we assign to setbacks, how we show up when the pressure rises, and what we do next. That is where the shift happens. When we let go of the need to control everything outside of us, we begin to reclaim control over what is within us. That is not weakness. That is strength. It is clarity. It is wisdom. The more we focus on our responses rather than the results, the more resilient and grounded we become. Control may be an illusion, but choice is real, and choice is always within reach. Real freedom does not come from controlling everything. It begins the moment we stop trying to hold every thread of life in a tight grip and start allowing the current to carry us. Surrender is not about giving up or becoming passive. It's about releasing the pressure to micromanage every outcome and choosing instead to trust the rhythm of life. There is a flow to this world, a pace that moves with or without your permission. And when you fight it, you suffer. When you align with it, you thrive. Surrender is an act of courage. It means accepting that uncertainty is a part of the process and believing in your ability to navigate it. You do not have to know every step to take the first one. You do not have to control the ending to write the next page. Presence becomes your anchor. Trust becomes your strength. Life becomes more vibrant when you are not fixated on trying to force it. When you release the need to predict and plan everything, you begin to experience moments as they are. You start to feel alive, responsive, and connected. In that surrender, you do not lose power. You discover it. If you agree, ink, rage, repeat. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.